The murder of a young woman putting the spotlight on the judicial system and how we as a nation confront mental illness.
We're talking about this because this suspect had multiple arrests over the years. He also, as we learned, is possibly being diagnosed for mental health issues.
So that's some of the media reaction to the murder of a Ukrainian refugee. She was in North Carolina riding a commuter train when a man with more than a dozen convictions dating back more than a decade stabs her to death for no reason. And Hugh Hewitt is here. Thank you so much for being here. One thing that did catch my eye is just, if you look at the difference of the coverage that the New York Times, for example, and they're not the only ones, gave to Daniel Penny's case, the one, former Marine who holds the man in the chokehold, who eventually died, and there was a huge trial, and it was such a big deal. So much coverage compared to this story of Iryna Zarutska in Charlotte. What do you think of all this?
Well, good morning, Dana. I think there are 16,000 murders in the United States every year. There were in 2024. So that's like 40 a day. And we can't cover them all, but the ones that occur underground and on public transit are usually on film. We saw Mr. Penny. We saw this weekend's tragedy. And the randomness and the mental illness that's evident in the attack on Iryna is so disturbing because all of us walk around every day in public and we have no way to prepare for or defend against the randomness of violence absent Good Samaritans like Daniel Penny. In Israel this morning, a terrorist killed 6 people. 6 more people are wounded. Individuals stepped up and murdered the terrorists and shot them before they could kill more people. We rely on our fellow citizens to stop stuff, but you can't stop the mentally deranged, especially when he'd been arrested 14 times, especially after 5 years in prison, and then he attacked his sister and he didn't go to a mental facility. So it's not the nation's mental health problems. It's state legislatures have got to get into the game, create, construct, and instruct on who goes in to psychiatric facilities because there are too many people doing things like this.
And even his mother said, she blamed the courts for letting him be back out. And families do end up in this situation where they know that their loved ones need help and the help is not available. Just in case it was hard to see, in that Daniel Penny versus this Iryna story, there were 100 responses that you could click on in the New York Times and 0 for her. Axios wrote this, that the video is easily shared or leaked and can instantly pollinate across social media, a visual counterpoint to statistics showing crime decreases. And Mark Harris of North Carolina, he's a Republican representative. He said the violence in Charlotte is a microcosm of a national epidemic. Americans deserve better than Democrats' soft on crime policies. This is really shaping up to be a stark difference in approaches when it comes to this issue.
And it shouldn't be, Dana. Murder is not a narrative. I read the Axios story. I know the original reporter, Mark Caputo. I'm sure the editors changed the lead that Mark put in there, saying MAGA is seizing upon the Charlotte murder. Nobody's seizing on anything. What the media chooses to do is up to the media. News is where you look is attributed to Dan Rather. The most of legacy media doesn't want to look at this because it does indict blue cities' policies vis-a-vis crime. It's sort of the Donald Trump versus Chicago argument going on right now, where Donald Trump in D.C. stopping the violence in D.C. What the national news media doesn't understand is most Americans will find out everything, and they can't control the narrative. And right now, the reality, as opposed to the narrative, is violence scares Americans, and local, state, and federal officials have to do something.
Hugh Hewitt, you're right about that. Thank you so much for being on the show. Before we go, I just want to show everybody here, there is a GoFundMe, and this is for Iryna. I'm sorry, it's for the suspect, excuse me. Here, we have it here. This is it here. You could raise funds to stop the injustice against Decarlos Brown Jr. However, so this went up. You can see there it only has $5 raised, 1 donation, but GoFundMe is going to pull this out. There is not going to be a GoFundMe for him. So we live and learn, and we enjoy having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Hi. энтузиазм, да,